tell you the stuff that my team is looking at the most closely right now. The trend that worries me the most is hacked sites, black hat spam, fresh spam, whatever you want to call it. They're all of one piece. Suddenly there's a volcano in Iceland that erupts. No one knows how to spell whatever, right? So there are no web pages about this volcano, maybe one Wikipedia page, and suddenly all the spammers come in and they start to make a lot of content. And that just happens anytime something important happens. Michael Jackson dies, there's a new singer on American Idol, whatever it is, something happens and the spammers just latch onto that. And sometimes they don't have the reputation to rank on their own websites. So what do? They take a great site, maybe Chewy has a website, and they say, you know what? I'm going to hack your site. You would not believe the places that have been hacked. Al Gore's website, Donald Trump's website. I could tell you a lot of people, including the United States Treasury, has been hacked. So anybody here run WordPress? A few people? Yeah. You might want to double check and make sure you have the most recent version. It's pretty bad. So the stuff that we're looking at is how do we detect these sites before users really hit them? And it's difficult with hot trends or fresh spam because by definition there's no content for it, right? So if you put these words on a page, there's a good chance you might be able to rank. So we're looking at that especially. That's a really big trend that we're paying attention to. And in fact, one of the reasons I wanted to visit Dublin whenever I came here is because we have a team of people who specialize in web spam in Dublin who are able to look at individual languages and rate them as spam or non-spam. So I've been talking to a lot of people this week. Some people actually think when you do a search on Google, we hand code what the top 10 results are every day, every single search for 1 billion times a day. People think that. Some people think, I know, I'm like, how could you
politicians?
Yeah, it's a little weird. It's like Santa Claus can't go to every house in one day. How do you think Google can answer 1 billion searches every day? We don't hand code things. That's not the way it works. So another misconception is that people honestly think it's all computers. As if the engineers at Google just show up and drink the free Red Bull and eat the free lunches and we don't do anything. Oh, the computers run everything. Well, the engineers have to write the algorithms. And the algorithms aren't perfect. You guys know this. The algorithms sometimes get things wrong. And so we have a manual web spam team that is willing to respond to spam complaints, that helps generate data for the engineers, for the algorithms. So there are people who say, well, of course, the top 10 results come out of a machine and you're not allowed to touch them. You're not allowed to do anything for them. And I'm sorry, but if you do a search for your name and there's off-topic porn, that's a really bad result. You don't like that. And it would be horrible if you said, oh, Google, I searched for my name, there's porn, please take it off. I'm not a porn star, there shouldn't be porn for my name, And instead, Google said, well, we're working on an algorithm to detect off-topic porn. So check with us in a year, maybe we'll be able to do it, maybe not. It's hard to detect porn. The skin tones, the different colors, it can be tricky. So maybe we'll solve this, maybe we won't. So, of course, that's not what we do. We are willing to take action in response to complaints. So it's nice to have a chance to visit Europe and sort of dispel some of those misconceptions. Now, you guys already know all this. You don't need to hear that. But when I think about the trends, the big trend on my team is hack sites. The other trends affecting Google as a whole, I think, are mobile, social, and local. Because if I can ask, what is the best restaurant in Brussels? And hear from you guys, where should I really go to get the good food? I'm going to trust that more than a lot of other sources of material. So Google rolled out social search late last year, where if you follow someone, you can actually see their blog post showing up in your search results. So I think social matters. Mobile matters. I recently tried the Nexus 1, switched to it from an iPhone. I liked it enough, I'm going to stick with the Nexus 1. There's a great feature in Froyo, the latest version of Android, which lets you turn your phone into a portable hotspot. So now all you need is one person. You can run Froyo, and everybody else can have Wi-Fi off of your phone. And I think that's really, really nice. Is there anybody in the room who does not have a phone on them right now?
I've got a spare.
You got two. You have extras for your demo. So seriously, anyone not have a phone with them? Okay, who has a laptop with them? A few. Who has a desktop PC with you? Nobody. You got one, okay. Is that a desktop PC in your pocket, or are you happy to see me? I don't know. So the trend is clearly going to be towards these smaller devices. And this device can almost do what my laptop did a few years ago. So if you think about it, it knows where you are, it knows what you're interested in, all this sort of stuff. So mobile and social are going to be big. And of course local. Because if you can land in Brussels and find out what's good, even if you don't know someone, that's going to be important as well. So I think those are going to be big trends. I think it's also important to realize sometimes people are thinking about Google differently. So one of the big reasons I wanted to go to Europe is I was sensing a few misunderstandings about how Google worked, and a few people thinking Google is more likely to be doing wrong or evil or bad, or Chrome is spying on me. You see a lot of these. Google is in bed with the CIA. Like crazy conspiracy theories. And it's like, if you let that go on too long, then everybody's like, oh yeah, Google's in bed with the CIA. How do you know that? Oh, some guy told me. Did you ask him how he knows it? Oh, some guy told him. Right? So if this stuff goes on long enough, it gets out of hand. This blog post is about SSL search. Google cares about users' privacy, and we've worked on it for a long time. The guy that delivered this feature, his name is Evan Roseman, and he works on my team. What does SSL search have to do with web spam? Nothing. But it helps user privacy. So that's one of the reasons why I said, look, take your 20% time and work on this feature. All it does is encrypt things from your browser to Google. So if you're in a hotel, I've been in a lot of hotels the last few days, I don't want them to know what I'm searching for, I can use SSL mode. Or maybe I find free Wi-Fi from this nice guy or down at the internet cafe. I might not want them to know what I'm searching for. Maybe I don't want my boss to know I'm looking for a new job. Hey, is Bing hiring? You know, not really. They're fine people, but I'm happy where I am. Oh, wait a second. What is this? They brought stickers?
And t-shirts.
They brought stickers and t-shirts. Oh, man.
You can have them.
That's bad. I only brought stickers. So, so we have this thing that's called data liberation. The idea behind data liberation is pretty simple. It's you should be able to take your data and leave Google. So if you use Gmail, that's great, but if one day you decide, you know what, I don't trust Google, or I want to have a backup or whatever, you should be able to pull that out. You don't want to pay $20 a year for it. You don't want to have to access it via a web page. You want to just be able to get to your own data. So a friend of mine in Chicago had these stickers printed up, and maybe I'll split between them. If people don't want them, keep passing them back, but if you do want them, it's made to look like an egg carton, caged-free data, so free-range data. And the idea is pretty simple. You should be able to pull your data out and take it somewhere else if you prefer. So what are all the things that we're doing? We're thinking about how do we dispel misconceptions? How do we help return the right results for users? How do we help users' privacy? And how do we let people have their data so that everything else being equal, if they still decide they don't like Google, fine, you can go, you can leave. Yes. Oh my God. Conspiracy theories grow everywhere. I was watching on, I think it was Webmaster World or some Webmaster forum, and we were like, oh, SSL search. That's so that Google doesn't have to give referrers to webmasters. That's not the reason. The reason was for privacy. We have no intention to make SSL search the default. It takes time to set up an SSL encrypted session. You guys know this. You have to set up the tunnel. So that slows down the web page loading a little bit. We hate slowing down the user. We do everything to make the user experience faster. If your search results are ready and the ads aren't ready, we don't wait for the ads. We send you back your search results and you don't get to see the ads for that search. So we really care about user latency. We wouldn't switch to SSL search by default unless we really thought it was a fantastic idea, and it makes things a little bit slower. The percentage of people who opt into SSL search is pretty tiny, because most of the time, you're at your home computer. What do you care? It's not like you're at an internet cafe all the time. But some of the time, you don't want your ISP, your boss, your government, whatever, to be able to snoop on you. So it's a lot like Ajax search. Whenever we rolled out Ajax search last year, it broke refers, and everybody's like, aha, Google wants to get rid of the refers so nobody has the refer data. And the worst one was, aha, Google wants Google Analytics to have the refer data and no one else to have the refer data. And that's not the case at all. In fact, we delayed the launch of Ajax Search until we found a way to turn the refers back on. Now, if someone deliberately opts in, and maybe it's like at 1/10 or 20.2% of people who turn this on, whatever it is, they want privacy. They've gone out of their way. They're taking a slower web connection to get more privacy. So I think that's actually kind of okay to not show refers. Now maybe people are going to throw rocks at me, or and everybody who loves refers are like, I can't stand to lose 0.2% of my data. But the fact is, these are the sort of people who already turned off JavaScript. So you already didn't get Google Analytics, or you already didn't get refers, or they ran no script. So these people are not necessarily the people that you're going to be able to target with refers anyway. And then the other conspiracy theory I've heard is, oh, Google's going to turn on SSL search, but then Google Analytics will still get the refers. I'm sorry, Google Analytics runs JavaScript. So it's the exact same as every other analytics package. There's no way it can be special. You could put the JavaScript right next to Google Analytics. You'll get the exact same thing. The final thing is, I'm sorry, you pushed a hot button. You're like, how dare you be so evil as to offer more privacy to users? I'm like, wow. Okay, the other thing you can do is run an SSL version of your own website. If you search for PayPal, they always run SSL. So if you have an SSL version of your website, you will get the refer. So if you care that much, turn SSL on and you'll still get these refers. It's that simple. So the intent was not to muddy the water for webmasters. I'm sorry that to some degree it does muddy the water a little bit for webmasters, but it doesn't muddy it that much. We have no current plans to make it the default. And these are people who, by definition, are trying to get more privacy. They really probably don't want you to see their refers. And they have ways that they can do it. This just makes it a little bit simpler for them. So that's my short spiel about that one. Did I convince anyone? Does that make sense? We're genuinely not trying to take away the data that you guys want. Worst case, run an SSL mode site and you'll get it. You'll get the data. There's SEO, which I think of as trying to do better in the organic rankings. There's search marketing or search engine marketing, which I think of as trying to buy ads that work well. And that's all part of marketing. SEO is part of marketing. Search engine marketing is part of marketing. I know I would not like to think of myself as a marketer, right? Sometimes there's this conception marketers are slick, or that they're like a salesperson, a used car salesman. But marketers are in the job of trying to find out what people want and helping them to find that. And there's nothing wrong with that. So I think there's nothing wrong with SEO done well that helps sites. There's nothing wrong with buying ads. And I think it all fits under the umbrella of marketing. So if you think about SEO as marketing, how do you create a buzz? How do you make something viral? How do you find some gimmick or angle that really resonates with people? There was a really cool Nike commercial for the World Cup. It was like a minute or 2 minute video, and it was a commercial. But I watched it to the end, and I shared it on Buzz. I was like, this is really cool. That's marketing, but it's still making things viral, and it's really compelling. So I think it's a fun way to think about shifting your mental outlook a little bit to how do we get that to be a little more well-known. I completely agree. I thought about doing a blog post of there's marketing, search marketing, and SEO, and then there's white hat, and then there's black hat, and then there's the illegal black hat, like the hackers. But I knew if I do that post, all the people will come out and yell at me, so I haven't done that post yet. I think we've said it affects 1 in 100 queries. So each query has 10 results, so 1 in 1,000 results. So it's not a huge, high-impact thing right now. But all other things being equal, these two guys are two websites. They have identical content, identical good stuff, but this guy's twice as fast. Yeah, I might want to show him. Yeah. So it's really more if you're an outlier, if you're especially slow, then okay, we might not think that you're as good, or your score might get like this much lower. But so many people saw those videos and that blog post and like, I have to take all my JavaScript and I have to put it in one JavaScript, and I have to take all my images and do spriting and put it all in one image, and oh, I can't show ads, and so I'm going to cloak for Googlebot and not show ads to Googlebot or images to Googlebot. And that is especially going overboard. Don't ever cloak, please. But the fact is that if people think about that, it can improve the search quality for users. We've seen when you slow down a website, people don't search on Google as much. Bing and Facebook have also done research studies about that.
Or they leave faster.
They leave faster. We slow people down by like 200 or 300 or 400 milliseconds, and what we found is over the course of 6 weeks, people searched less often. So that's kind of weird. You might think, oh, I remember I read a post by a Yahoo guy several years ago, and he said, oh, does 500 milliseconds really make a difference? Half a second, come on. It's whatever. And meanwhile, we were looking at exact data that said 500 seconds meant people would search a lot less over 6 weeks. So they just hadn't run the numbers. Thank you. So, free tool, you can see the sort of stuff. And this is, take it again with a grain of salt. It sort of says how many DNS lookups there are, how big it is, all this sort of stuff. If you've got really, really, really slow site, then yeah, you might want to pay attention to caching. You might want to pay attention to those kinds of issues. People don't have to panic, but here's the second part of my answer, which is sometimes SEOs are helpful, and sometimes SEOs get frustrated because, when my client says, I want to rank #1, but he won't do anything I tell him to do, right? That's really frustrating. So at least with page speed, you can tell him, hey, change these 6 things, and your site will get faster, Google might rank you higher, and at least you're creating a better experience for them. So worst case, someone says, oh, why do I need an SEO? SEOs, I can do it myself, or they're all snake oil salesmen, or whatever. Worst case, if you develop the expertise to even look at this and interpret a little bit and say, hey, here's a report, here are 5 things you can do to make your website faster, and that might help your Google ranking. Hey, the web gets a little better, the web gets a little faster. So we think that that's a good thing. The Webmaster Tools team historically sits in Kirkland, up in Washington State, and the analytics team sits in a different area. Analytics came in via an external acquisition, a version, and we built the Webmaster Tools team from the ground up. So within Google, we have these sort of silos, we have these sort of different groups, and they could be more integrated, but they're completely different teams. The fact that analytics looks at JavaScript, and so if someone has turned JavaScript off, means you're always going to get slightly different numbers, because we see the number of actual impressions, even if they have JavaScript turned off. But I wouldn't expect us to merge those in the immediate future, just because they're completely different teams. Now the good news is, as far as what to expect in the future from Webmaster Tools, everything we build is because somebody asks us for it. Fetch's Googlebot, somebody was like, if you could help me debug why my site got hacked, I would love that. I can't tell you how many webmasters have been like, why can't I tell you the URLs or the URL parameters that are useless? Session IDs, or something that I can't get out of my content management system. So that's why we built that. Whenever they were rolling it out, I'll be the first to admit, I was like, don't let people do multiple countries, because someone will go through and say, I'm relevant to Azerbaijan, Armenia, Chad, all the way through to Zaire. They'll just click every single box. And in fact, in the Google Spam Report form, we have like 7 different things that you can check. Some people check every single box. Like, oh yeah, keyword stuffing, yeah. Cloaking, oh yeah. Hidden text, yeah, they do that too. No one does all of that. There's only a few grand slam spammers that spam in every single technique there is. Right, but like 10 or 20% of these reports are like, yep, I better make sure they really look at it, so I'm going to click everything. And that's exactly the wrong way to handle it, right? So based on that experience, I was like, I'm a little worried that if we let people select any country they want, as many as they want, they'll abuse that. Now one country, I think, with the benefit of hindsight, is probably not enough. There's 2 or 3 different ways that you can tell Google what the language is, but if you do, for example, suppose you had a .com. If you had en.whatever.com or de.whatever.com, if you do consistent subdirectories or subdomains or consistent subdirectories, so whatever.com/en, whatever.com/fr, our system tries to learn those consistent patterns. and say, okay, this part of the site is French. So the one thing that almost never works is if you say in a URL parameter and lang equals fr. That doesn't work very well at all. So if you can do /fr or fr dot, that tends to work better. Now, if you try that and that's not working, then we need to figure out how to improve that. Because I've talked recently to the crawl team, and they deliberately look for those types of patterns to say, this is a French part, this is an English part. So we can try to get more countries in the tool, we can try to get country plus language, but it's supposed to be at a page level, detecting the language automatically, and trying to figure out this part of the site is French. I don't know if you know this, but there are spammers on the web.
No way.
Yeah, seriously, why? What? So what people would do is, there are spammers who look for open text area boxes and forms, and they'll submit their links. And they'll submit their links across any text area form they can find on the entire web. So we found people who were spamming the spam report form. They were reporting themselves for spam. And we said, look, this is not high quality stuff. It's kind of funny, but it doesn't really help that much. So that's why we moved to doing the authenticated spam report form. Since we've moved to having to log in, so people actually have to think about it a little bit, the total quantity has gone down quite a bit. We do try to look at those, every single one of those. A person tries to look at that, typically within 24 to 48 hours. You often might not see a response, but often that's because we're pruning backlinks or taking some response that if you take out the paid links, there might still be some organic links, and that's enough for the site to rank. But we do look at those, and we take those very seriously. The quality has definitely gone up with the authenticated spam report form. And by the way, if you ever want to report spam and you don't want to give your email address, and that's okay, we understand that. Just make a random new Gmail address or whatever email address and Google account and just a throwaway account, and you can report spam that way. So it's not identifiable to you if you don't want it to be. It can be authenticated, and you can still remain anonymous if you want to. But even we find a lot of spam via spam reports, and we appreciate that. So if we could tell someone, yes, we did take some action as a result of this spam report form, that would help. And so we're talking about whether it would make sense to do that. I would like for us to do that. I am a Firefox fan. I hope that Firefox gets faster and leaner. They have great add-ons and extensions. So I'm a fan of Firefox. I got won over by Chrome because they're so fast. I want us to get competition. I don't see a lot of great browser, competitiveness coming from Internet Explorer right now. Maybe IE9 will really kick the game up, but right now, I hear a few people laughing. But I love Firefox, so I hope that they, like the newer versions look pretty cool, and I hope that they give us a real run for our money and stuff. I blinged out my Firefox with all kinds of extensions. How many people, I'm curious, how many people use Chrome? No way, really? Hold on.
I see this in Montshare from Google in Belgium.
Another question.
Whoa, dude. I knew people in Belgium were smart, but okay.